to day 2 of DudaCon 2025. Today, we're diving into the theme of shaping your impact. Yesterday, we kicked things off strong with some truly future-focused conversations. We tackled some of the big questions that everybody's thinking about, whether SEO is dead, how AI is reshaping content deliverability, and how to actually make analytics useful inside of AI. We also got to see some really cool features that the Duda team is working on to make the site build process faster so your agency can make more profit. Today, our first session, we are talking about turning today's challenges into future opportunities. Whether it's in-house shrinking budgets, buyer behaviors that seem to be shifting overnight, the pressure is real to deliver. There's a ton of competition out there. I'm happy to be with a few of our guests today. We have Lisa from EKTE, Corey Quinn from Agency Growth Advisor, and Nate Freedman from Tech Pro Marketing. These are people that you really, really want to listen to. Corey Quinn, I have been a personal client of his, and he has transformed the way my agency does things. Nate Freedman is verticalized and working with MSPs, and he manages hundreds of different campaigns for different clients. And Lisa successfully sold her agency to Omnicom, a global advertising agency, at a successful exit. So these are definitely people that you're going to want to pay attention to if you're interested in making more money in your agency. So I want to start off by seeing where everybody is from on the second day of DudaCon. Drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. And while you guys are doing that, let's get started with our introductions. So Lisa, go ahead and tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am Lisa Paasche. I ran the SEO agency Verve Search for 15 years before I sold it to Omnicom Media Group in 2017. I now run EKTE, which is a mentoring and advisory agency or consultancy, helping agency scale, grow, and exit.
Excellent. My name's Nate Freedman. I run a company called Tech Pro Marketing. We're a remote agency, and I am based out of Rhode Island. I shifted into the MSP space and verticalized about 8 years ago. And over that time, I've been on this process of where when you first started, we were kind of running discovery, learning all the problems with each individual business and the ideal customer profile. And as we've gained more knowledge with our ideal customer, we're able to skip some of those steps. And now we're at the point where we've got a system that we can plug our clients into, onboard 5, 6, 7, 8. Our goal is 10 clients a week coming up at the end of this year.
Wow. Corey?
What's up, everybody? Super excited to be here. My name's Corey Quinn, and I've been in the agency space for 20 years. It's like crazy that I could say that. My most recent in-house role was as the chief marketing officer of a digital agency called Scorpion. We'll talk a little bit more about that during our time here together. I am also the author of a book called Anyone, Not Everyone. It is a 5-step framework for escaping founder-led sales, specifically for agencies.
All right, perfect. So everybody is telling us where they're coming in from. Corey, tell us where you're coming from. Lisa, too. Nate already told us he's from Rhode Island.
I'm in Los Angeles.
I am in northern Norway right now.
All right, awesome. And I am in Connecticut. So that's great. Now we've got the geography checked off. Corey's going to be presenting today some really critical information that every agency should be thinking about. So Corey, whenever you're ready, feel free to share your presentation and let's get it going.
All right. Thanks, Ruan. Appreciate you. All right, let's get started. So quick temperature check in the room. How we all feeling? Specifically, compared to 3 years ago, kind of the pandemic boom times, how hard does an agency feel today? Like, what's the agency life like today? If you are closer to a 1, you're like on easy street. Clients are chasing you, ads are converting, or maybe you're closer to a 9 where leads are dry, clients are picky, and the margins are tight. So I'm curious, in the chat right now, where are you in this sort of range, this range from 1 easy street to 9 super spicy? Where are folks today? Go ahead and just drop that into the chat. Okay, Hans is about a 3. Love that. Ginny, about a 7 to 9. Awesome. We got Lisa is about a 9. Ruan's about a 3. So that's good. We got some 3s, got some low numbers here. I love this. So I speak with a lot of agencies on a week-to-week basis, and I hear a lot of folks who are in the 6 to 9 range. And if that is you, you are not alone. A lot of them are saying that things are hard and they're getting harder. And today I want to reframe that, because all this pressure that you're feeling, it's not really a problem. It's more of a signal. It's a filter. It's a path forward for you. And all the agencies who are able to rise through some of the challenges that we'll talk about today will be the ones not who have the best tactics, but they'll be the ones who actually evolve their business and respond to the pressures that are happening today. So specifically, and what I'm going to talk about today and inspire you all to think about is those agencies who move from execution focused to trusted advisory are going to position themselves for the future. So what I want to do is I want to share a quick story about Scorpion. I mentioned I was the chief marketing officer at Scorpion. I joined in 2015, and at the time, the agency was doing about $20 million, which is awesome, right? It's a success by any stretch, but we were able to grow the business from 20 million to 200 million. We grew the client base from 1,000 clients to 14,000 clients, and we grew the company size from 100 people to 1,000 employees, and we grew the sales force from 6 people to 60. Massive, massive growth. And one of the things that stood out to me, in fact, I remember when I was interviewing for the role of chief marketing officer there at Scorpion, one of the things I learned in the interview is that Scorpion had a 93% client retention rate, and that's an annual retention rate, which for any agency serving any market is pretty fantastic, right? It really caused me to lean in. I was really like, wow, that's pretty impressive. But it's especially impressive when you think about the fact that Scorpion served small local businesses, right? And so what I learned when I accepted the offer to join Scorpion was that the thing that made Scorpion so powerful back then and all the way through to today is an intense focus on clients, right? There was a high level of client intimacy. It was literally the center of everything that we did. Our clients would tell us like, gosh, we feel like we're your only client. And that our ability to make our clients feel that way and demonstrate that even at scale was really powerful. Fast forward to 2020, a couple of years ago, we raised $100 million from private equity. And the thesis for that money was, let's go out and build a bunch of software, right? The challenge with that, and the thing that caused us to struggle, was that the focus of Scorpion was no longer on client intimacy. The center of the bullseye, the thing we were building for, was efficiency. We had to figure out things like, well, how can we reduce meeting times? How can we load up more clients per account manager? How can we use software to streamline everything? And all of a sudden, efficiency overshadowed this client intimacy, this thing that made us so special. And as a result, we lost clients, we lost employees. And the big challenge for us, the thing we learned is that we had optimized our clients out of the equation, right? We became over obsessed with efficiency and lost our sight. And the thing that stuck with me was that the thing that is not replaceable, the thing that an agency like Scorpion or anyone here on the call can really leverage into the future, is the thing that cannot be automated, cannot be streamlined, which is becoming a trusted advisor, providing insight with care, not output. And so I want to share 3 threats that a lot of agencies are telling me that they're struggling with. I do a lot of research. I talk to a lot of people. And the first struggle is in-housing. This is where clients are hiring internal teams, maybe a single person, maybe an entire team, and they're using AI tools. And they're saying, we're good. We're going to take it from here. But here's the thing. In-housing isn't your problem in those situations. It's staying in execution mode. When you sell deliverables, you are optional. When you sell judgment and strategy, that's when you become vital. Okay. So I'm going to share with you 3 things that elite agencies are doing when it comes to this insourcing. Number 1 is owning the roadmap. Don't just deliver SEO or media buying. Lay out a full strategic path from where they are, where your clients are, to where they want to be. I worked with an agency that started selling marketing blueprints, right? And not just deliverables, right? So they had a marketing blueprint. And as a result of that, it transformed, number 1, client retention. And number 2, it made upsells natural because it was a natural part of the evolution. Number 2 is guiding internal teams. I was just talking to a founder of an agency the other day who had built this amazing AI that does this SEO analysis of their clients' websites compared to competitors in their space. He serves the law firm, the legal industry, specifically law firms that have an internal team. And what this amazing AI software does is that it helps, it provides an amazing strategy, leveraging AI and SEO and all these great things. And then they bring that strategy into their clients that have the teams to execute. And it gives them, that internal team, a lot more value. It allows them to be a force multiplier with not Jason Hans, the different agency, allows that internal team to be force multipliers and not threats to the agency. And the third one is you want to become the external brain for the marketing leadership. If you work with marketing leaders, be that person who sees what they can't. Offer benchmarks, frameworks, decision support. You want to think of yourself as a fractional CMO who can provide guidance and support from the outside. Okay. Let's talk about the next potential challenge. I know we're talking a lot about AI today. And I want us all to ask ourselves, is it really a threat? And I would say yes, if you're selling blogs and ad copy or tasks, like the hands work. But if you're selling thinking and clarity and judgment, it's a different story. Because AI can replace writers. It cannot replace wisdom. Right? So here's what some agencies are doing as it relates to AI that I think is really smart. Number 1 is they're leveraging AI to speed up onboarding. Helping a client who signs a contract to come on board, providing quick, amazing value very, very quickly using AI, right? Almost immediate value by using these tools, as well as delivering strategy, as well as strategy delivery. Leveraging AI to provide better strategy, more in-depth strategy, more informed strategy. That's number 1. Number 2 is build tools that make your clients smarter. I'm going to share with you an example of someone who's doing just that here in a second. The third one is you want to free yourself to deliver more insight, not more deliverables. Here's what I mean. When you leverage AI to do a lot of the task-based work, that frees you and your resources up, provides profit. That profit should be investing in spending more time with your clients, helping them to provide more in-depth strategies. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine, Stuart, he runs an agency called Healthcare Success. And what he was doing for his medical clients was lead gen. They would hire him to generate more leads, do PPC, SEO, websites, and so on and so forth. And of course, maybe some of us can relate to this. They would send these amazing leads in. Of course, the client who they're receiving these leads aren't answering the phone, aren't responding to the lead gen forms quickly. And as a result of that, at the end of the month, the client is looking at their invoice that they're paying Stuart, and they're looking at how much they spent on Google and Meta. And they say, I'm spending too much money. It's not worth it for me because I'm not seeing any results. Of course, the challenge is that the clients were not following up on the leads. Right? Hopefully this is a pain point that we're all familiar with in the agency space. What he's doing now is he is leveraging AI to do call analysis. What I mean by that is, in the past, he would have his account manager listen to a call that came in, a lead call. That account manager would do their best to try and diagnose what's happening. With AI, what they're doing is they are analyzing every single call that comes in. They're able to provide analysis, which leads to insight. All of a sudden, the conversation isn't just about, hey, we sent you a lot of leads. It's, hey, we noticed that when your intake specialist is answering the phone, they're kind of rude, or they are not answering the phone when it rings, right? Or they're not responding to voicemails, right? You can have a much more informed discussion out of lead gen into more about where the real bottleneck is in the business. And as a result of that insight, they're able to grow retention because they're adding more strategic value, right? Threat number 3 is rising competition. We've all heard it. Agencies are spinning up every day. The tools are basically free. All the tactics are there. But here is the deal. Advisors don't compete. They lead. And when you know your vertical market, your target audience, for instance, Nate, he knows MSPs very, very well. If you know your target audience very well, you've all of a sudden, you're not one of many. You're not a generalist. You are the one. And so what I want to talk about is an area where a lot of agencies get trapped, get stuck, and that is in the generalist trap. Okay, it starts at the top. Typically, the typical life cycle of an agency owner is someone is working at another job. Maybe they're freelancing on Fiverr. They're starting to build some clientele doing, let's say, websites, or maybe SEO or PPC. And as a result of getting a couple clients, the first couple clients are always, it's likely, I should say, that the owner of this budding agency over delivers for those first clients. And as a result of over delivering, they get more referrals. And all of a sudden they're building an actual business. Maybe they leave their daytime job and they work on this agency full time. The challenge is, after a while, they may look up and say, gosh, today we are building a website for a dentist. Tomorrow we may be doing an SEO strategy for a manufacturing company. Maybe the day after that, you're doing an e-com strategy for a furniture store down the street. And so you've built a business that is full of this context switching, right? You have no ability to really build expertise and rhythms. Of course, that leads to operational inefficiency. Sure, you may have written SOPs, standard operating procedures, but no one's following them. And as a result of that, it's likely that the founder has all of a sudden become the bottleneck. They are the head salesperson. They're the head account manager. They're the only person in the agency that knows what was sold and where every client is in the ecosystem. Everyone else in the agency are just doers, right? They're just executing on your behalf. As a result of that, it's likely that your clients will begin to feel like, hey, I'm not really getting an amazing result or an amazing product from these guys. I kind of feel like this is a commodity. Right? They feel like they can get the same thing or better from somewhere else for cheaper. Right? That's what happens with commodities. And of course, when you're commoditized, that's when clients leave. And when clients leave, the resulting is you got to chase revenue. You got to pay yourself. You have to pay your team. Maybe you have rent. Maybe you have a mortgage, right? So when your clients are leaving, you actually have to go out and chase revenue. When you do that, you're in a position where you have to say yes to everybody. And it gets caught up in this, what I call a negative flywheel. And it creates a situation where it makes it very difficult for you to be that advisor because you're lost in tactics land. So the way out is something I call the deep specialization path. It starts with having a focus on one vertical market. Specializing in a vertical, saying, hey, I want to focus my business going forward. I'm going to work with dentists. And as a result of working with dentists, you build up vertical expertise. Right? You work with dentists day in, day out. You begin to get good. You begin to actually help them provide a lot of deep value. It's kind of like what the old Bruce Lee quote was, which was, I fear not the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks once. I fear the man that has practiced one kick 1,000 times. Right? You get really good at solving these problems. Of course, that leads to clear differentiation in the market. Meaning when you could solve a hard problem for a specific audience, people will notice you, right? They'll see you and they'll say, these guys are different. I want to understand more about how they can help me specifically. When you have clear differentiation, you can charge premium pricing, right? Having a specialized service that's hard to find is scarce, allows you to charge more. Of course, when you're charging a premium, you're able to attract better clients. And when you attract better clients, you build more of a scalable growth model. But it also puts you in a position where you're going from tasks to strategy. Is that clear? Okay. So in closing, my invitation to everyone here is, number one, focus on selling insights, not deliverables. Focus on specializing, not being a generalist, and be an advisor and not a vendor, because the truth is these pressures are real, but the pressures are not the problem. The pressure is the path. Thanks, everybody.
Wow. Thanks, Corey. Very insightful presentation there. Corey, can you just I'm sorry, can you just share your screen one more time and go back to the generalist trap that you were there? I want to keep that up for just a second. I want to know from the audience, how many of you are actually verticalized, meaning you're only working with one category of business types, and how many of you are generalized, meaning you will work with several industries? And then I have a bunch of questions for Nate and a bunch of questions for Lisa and a bunch of questions for you, Corey, because I think this is such an important topic here. My first question that I have is, the first thing that came up to my head when you were talking about this is, what would you recommend to somebody who has an agency right now, they have clients, but they don't know which vertical to pick? That's a common thing that I've heard and I've actually gone through. And so what would be your advice for that? So they know they need to verticalize, but they don't know what agency, what type of business to pick.
So it's a great question. And my general advice is for an agency who's just starting out, maybe they don't have a lot of clients today, is to actually build kind of this generalist agency. And here's why, is because it gives you an opportunity to get a lot of data from the market. You begin to work with clients and see which clients you like working with, which ones are seeing results, which ones stay with you, which ones you're able to be profitable with. And as a result of that experience, it gives you a lot of data to be able to make an informed decision on where to focus.
Understood. Now I want to pull up a comment really quick that Chad Ever just said. He said he's general with a dedicated team that is specialized. Corey, can you really quickly just educate us on the differences between having a specialized deliverables team versus a specialized verticalized team? It was Chad Ever that said it.
All right. So real quick. So you can specialize in who you serve and then what you do. So you could say, I do SEO for everybody. You'd be down here, right? The what you do, very, very specialized. Or maybe it's TikTok videos, I'm not sure. Or you could say, I only work with dentists, right? And I kind of do everything. So this would be, this would be everything down here. Everything and everyone in this corner. So you can either specialize in either way. And if you want to have very sharp positioning, maybe you just do SEO for dentists. Right? That may strategically make sense for who you are and what you want to build. And so when folks say, hey, I am specialized, it may mean, depends on what they mean, right? So it may mean that they're super specialized from an SEO perspective. They have the world's best SEO engineers, but they'll service anyone. Or maybe it may be that they only work with dentists and they have a sort of more of a generalist approach to what they do, or maybe a blend of the two.
Now, Matt S. said he's both general and verticalized in the beauty industry, but slowly moving to not be a generalist. My question to you, Corey, is for somebody who already has accounts as a generalist, how do they communicate to their clients and to their internal agency about the transition to the verticalization?
It's such a good question. Oh, there's the book. And the answer is that it's likely that your current clients won't care that you have updated the website and that you're going to the dental conferences.
Hmm.
It's likely that as long as you continue to provide the value that you've been providing to them since day one, the reason why they love you and why they stay with you is because you have a relationship with them. As long as you continue to invest in that relationship, they don't care if you sell widgets. They're just looking to make sure that they're benefiting from the relationship. So there isn't this thing where you're going to lose all of your clients by focusing in on a vertical market, as long as, of course, as you communicate that clearly and you make sure the relationships stay open.
That's a great point. And that's the fear that I think a lot of generalist agencies have, is how are they going to communicate that when you're right, the customer just wants the result, really. And Matt did say I don't like saying fired, but he resigned some accounts in the transition. And that's a really great way to do it. So
Yes.
My next question is actually to Lisa, because the agency that she ran before, Lisa, tell us a little bit about the agency that you ran before prior to your sale. And was that a generalist agency?
Yes. So I ran Verve Search, which was a specialist SEO agency. And I started off, so when I founded Verve in 2009, I started off as SEO, paid search, social media, analytics. And then I very quickly specialized just in SEO. And then I further specialized about 2015. I further specialized within, I called it outreach. In fact, I came up with a new term for it, but basically link building. So the link side of SEO.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't necessarily agree with specializing in verticals or a specific type of clients. I think it might be different in the US, but in the UK, they certainly don't like you having clients that are the competition. And this is how those big networks like Omnicom that ended up buying Verve, how those big networks ends up with loads of different agencies within, because they will have competing clients in big brand companies within a vertical. But that's not to say that it can't be done. It's just the bigger the brands, the more opposing. Like Verve Search had Go Compare, which is a comparison site, and they certainly wouldn't want us to work with another comparison site. But we very much specialize within SEO, and this is 100% the reason how we got to a sale. So getting to a sale was I think entirely that we specialized in the thing that people found the hardest, which was the link stuff. And instead of doing what everyone else did, we kind of reinvented that. While everyone else was drawing a cross, we draw a circle. So we created campaigns that were more like creative ad campaigns. So we had the tagline, think like a 50s ad exec and execute like a geek. So they were like larger scale campaigns that then would get coverage everywhere. Like we had, CNN, or we had a poker client that got coverage in the New York Post and on TV on the Tonight Show. So the kind of stuff that we did was so far, so much better than what the competition did. So by specializing, I do 100% agree with Corey that by specializing, you can get really good at what you do. And if you are wanting to grow to sell, you need to be that much better than everyone else.
Yeah. One of the reasons why generally, at least you can share with me whether or not this validates your experience, but one of the reasons why specialization is really powerful in the context of eventually selling is that an acquirer, whether it's private equity or a strategic buyer, they really want to have an agency that isn't founder dependent necessarily, right? They want to be able to buy the agency and know that within a year or two, the founder can leave and they still have a viable asset. And I think specialization helps with that.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Now, Lisa, a couple questions for you. So I've read a ton of books about advertising agencies like Omnicom and Huge Inc. and companies like that. They do make the generalist approach work. But what you're saying is you specialized in a service. For the people that are interested in specializing in a service, not necessarily a vertical, what advice would you have for them there?
Think differently. Like I think it was Rory Sutherland who used to work. He was like proper 50s ad exec, and I saw him speak at a conference when he said, if everyone's drawing a cross, draw a circle. So if you're specializing, really think about what everyone is doing and how to do it differently. Look, it only took, so in 2015, that was 2 years before I sold, my profit and my profit margin was nowhere near ready to sell. But really drilling down and really like focusing on getting to the profit margin, improving profit margin, efficiency, the quality, those are really the core things. And within 2 years, we sold.
That's a great point. And so, speaking of selling, Nate, I have a question for you. I now know where I know you from, and it's because you did work with Ulistic, which one of my good friends own that. Did you guys? What's the relationship between you and Ulistic?
So you're friends with Stuart.
Yes.
That's incredible. So I think this is an example of where verticalizing really helps. And for us, it was a situation where I also developed a friendship with Stuart over the years. And kind of one of the things is, I think one of my challenges, if you go back to the very beginning, one of my challenges right now is number 3, what Corey said, it's increased competition. And I think thanks to people like Corey, which are helping so many people out there, verticalized niches are getting a little bit more competitive and there are more people out there. I'm very happy to have jumped into verticalization a few years before everybody else. And Stuart and I were one of the few people out there who were posting content on LinkedIn, posting content on YouTube, webinars, podcasts about marketing for managed IT services providers, which is our niche. And we developed a mutual respect, being 2 people who are leaders in the space, and we both have kind of a, no BS attitude. We just kind of shoot people straight. And if you know him, he really shoots people straight. We developed a friendship. So for me, I was actually able to acquire his company about 3 years ago. And it wasn't thank you very much. And it actually, for my business, it about doubled our revenue, put us on the path to really grow into a decent sized agency. But it wasn't something where Stuart was looking for some amazing multiples. He wasn't going to private equity. That wasn't his, him as well. It wasn't his career goals in life. Very happy where he was at in life, but what he wanted was somebody who could take care of his clients. That was the most important thing for him. So for us, when Stuart was actually ready to kind of slow things down, move into a different part of his life, it was actually a natural transition for me to acquire his brand, acquire his clientele. And I would say it was 100% due to specialization and having the exact same specialization, being one of the only few people in the world who had that.
I remember when that happened, and that's where the verticalization, I mean, you wouldn't have bought that agency if it had 50 different types of verticals, right? I mean, that's where that makes a lot of sense.
It was like integrating all those clients in such a short period of time was one of the most challenging things. And literally we had the exact playbook. If I had to do that with 50 different niches, 50 different playbooks, it would have been impossible and would have been a disaster.
Understood. That's a really good point. Now, Corey, I'm gonna shoot it back over to you because I think it's Guinea Heartline asked a very good question. And if there's ever going to be someone who answers this question correctly, it's Corey, because of his experience at Scorpion, where they would have 1 zip code but 7 clients in the same zip code. Yeah. And you'll see this a lot today. If you type in plumber, a town, you'll see that there's several Scorpion sites in a zip code. Guinea asks, it's a double-edged sword to not work for clients of similar businesses. What do you do when you're asked to provide examples to build their confidence as well as NDAs, etc.? So how do you generally take multiple clients in an existing area?
Yeah. And so I'll answer it in 2 different ways. Number 1 is with a local, if you're serving local businesses, local service businesses, and that could be MSPs, it could be attorneys, it could be accountants, it could be plumbers, medical practices, so on and so forth. What they care about is whether or not you can solve their problem and who else you've solved it for that are like them. So you have to be able to demonstrate that you understand that you have experience in solving this problem. And so in that context, if it's a local business and I was pitching them and they were here in Los Angeles, let's say Santa Monica, I would share with them a case study of, let's call it an attorney in Miami, Florida. because there is zero risk of them stealing business from each other, right? So it's demonstrating the expertise. There's no risk. However, within a specific geo, let's call it again, Santa Monica, Los Angeles here, the way that we built our business at Scorpion is that we would have 3 to 5 businesses within each, let's call it service area. Let's call it Santa Monica, zip code for in other words. And the way that it would happen from a sales perspective, in some cases, it never came up in the sales conversation. We wouldn't introduce the idea to introduce friction into the conversation. But when it did come up, we would help them to understand that separate teams, separate data silos. There was no sharing of information, different account managers, and that because the Google Maps, I think at the time, had 3 to 5 locations, we felt comfortable being able to service multiple people in the same area, as long as it wasn't more than 3 or 4, because of that limitation of the maps. And that's how we did it. And there was also, of course, some clients who were much more interested in us not working with their competition. And that doesn't mean that we couldn't do business with them, but we knew from a business opportunity perspective, the strategy was, we know that a specific zip code represents a certain amount of revenue for Scorpion, and that if they wanted to be exclusive in that area, they certainly can be, but they'd have to buy out the area effectively.
How was that structured? Like, how is there a math behind that, or is it just?
Yes.
Okay.
So we knew average revenue per client per area for Scorpion. And so if, let's say, average revenue per client is $1,000 or MRR, and we would limit it to 5 clients in that area. If you came in and said, hey, I want to buy out this whole area, we'd say, great, it's $5,000 a month.
That alone should offer people so much clarity, because we've gone through that. I'm sure, Nate, you've gone through that. I'm sure, Lisa, you've gone through that in some of your relationship building you've done over the time frame. And so my next question is actually for Lisa, because you were working with larger businesses, it seems like, in the advertising space and things like that. We talked a lot about in-housing, and oftentimes you have to work with the marketing person in-house for an account that you really love and you really want to work with. What advice would you give to agencies facing clients that do a lot of stuff in-house, but they still work with agencies for certain things? Like, how would you manage that relationship to make it so you're not stepping on their toes, you keep it positive, you keep it profitable for your agency, but you move things forward?
Yeah, good question. I think this is a really, really big key, very big key in growing as well. So some of our really big clients, we were a crucial part of their in-house team. So one of the comparison sites, for example, we also did training for new stuff. So we actually offered to help them grow their internal team, because if you see it as a potential threat, that does not build a good relationship. So basically, the main thing that we tried is to make the person that we were dealing with look like a rock star internally, and make sure that they knew everything they needed to know. I think a lot of agencies think that maybe if you are showing them and teaching them too much, that somehow you will not be useful anymore. I really haven't seen any instances where that's been the case. So we would help them grow their internal teams, as well as try to help them with anything that we could. And that allowed us, so for this particular client, we started off at quite a small budget, but this ended up like 6-figure budget a month, because we became a really integral part of that team. In fact, so much so that when we won Best Agency at the European Search Awards, this client came with us on stage because he felt like he was part of the team, which he totally was.
Nice. Now, you mentioned 6-figure retainer. I know there's a huge debate about projects and hourly. Agencies love talking about pricing. So I'm curious how your agency was pricing that level of work.
So I think doing SEO is really hard to price. And this is something I'm really interested in, as working with agencies myself now. It blows my mind that people don't think like this. But for me, it's all about getting the profit margin, and some places you can get more profit than other areas. So one of the typical areas where it's really hard to get any margin on is account management. So we spent a lot of time making sure that we can automate a lot of the account management part, which was reporting and so on, because they don't want to pay for that anyway. And then also getting the recruitment, getting the right kind of people that have the mindset rather than the experience. So in SEO, I think that's really important. Also, I don't like being Scandinavian. So I'm originally from Norway. That's the weird accent, sound Irish apparently. And in Scandinavia, so working in the UK, being Scandinavian, I think I prefer having the same day rate, no matter who you are working with in the agency. I don't really like the whole like account executive or senior person, whatever. So we worked on day rate and a set day rate. And that could increase, or, you know, bigger deals, you might get a reduction of that. And I think this is key. Like, using the day rate as part of the negotiation for longer contracts and so on is quite easy. It becomes really complicated to keep track of things and knowing what is profitable and what isn't profitable if you're doing hourly rates and specific rates depending on person and seniority, and they all pay different things. Why make it difficult when you can make it simple?
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. Before I move on to a question for Nate, I've got a question from Don Scruton that I know Corey Quinn is going to eat up. And it is, with AI growing so fast, what is the best way to explain to potential clients and how they can say they can build a website myself? Why do I need your service?
I want to see how Nate would respond to this one.
Yeah, so we've shifted our model completely to, we're focused on getting you leads. And you know, it's like, you can build it yourself, sure. And even for us, I'll do a webinar where I'm like, this is exactly, if you want to generate leads from it, this is exactly where you're going to put this button. This is exactly the type of message you're going to put here. These are the type of images you need, and go ahead and do it with AI. And you know what? Like, I do see, like, I'm like, whoa, someone out there made my copycat website, but it's totally fine. But you know, it's like, we've seen some amazing entrepreneurs like blow up recently. And like Corey is one of them, where it's like, he gives the playbook in the book. You could read the book and get it, but Ruan, you're his client because he's amazing and you want to work there. So I think for me, I want to make it exciting. I want to make it where people just want to work with me, and that's a type of business that I want. So I'm completely not scared of it. And what I really know is the people that do go and do the free advice, those are the best clients who are eventually going to come in, because you can do it on it with AI by yourself. It's not going to be as good. I'm sorry. Like, you got to sharpen your sword or whatever 1,000 times. The first time you do it with AI, you'll do okay. The 100th time, like we're doing with AI, you'll do it a lot better. So
that's a great point. Now, Nate, I have a question for you. So verticalizing is very hard. You know, if it was easy, everybody would do it correctly, but it's not. And so a lot of people end up with, like, the way Corey just said it, explained my entire life. And so why did you pick MSPs? Because when you verticalize, you have to do something very difficult. You have to make a decision, and decisions are hard to make. So I'm very curious as to why you picked that vertical, and then what advice you'd have for people looking to pick a vertical.
So I loved Corey's advice earlier on about start with the generalist agency. That was very reassuring to me, because I know some people just start verticalized, they nail it the first time. But for me, MSPs was actually my third niche. And I started as a generalist agency, tried a few different clients. I had one client that was doing really well with vending machines. I like reached out to every other vending company across the US. I was like, am I working with like the only vending company in America that has any budget? I kind of felt that way. So I moved on from there. After that, I started doing a specialized service, and I was doing Pardot implementations, which is a marketing automation tool involved with Salesforce. I thought this was a great idea. But for me, I think this is a great thing where it's like, I really loved what Lisa said, where she's like, yes, you got to go specialize. These top clients that have the big budgets, they don't want to have you compete with another brand in their space. For me, if I was like in a conversation with like some of the people that you're communicating with, or we're communicating with on a regular basis, Lisa, I would just be so out of my element, and they would see right through me. And that was what happened to me in the Pardot space. Like, any company that has the budget to implement Salesforce, I'm not a corporate person. I started this creating websites for my friends. I was just a computer guy. Eventually, with my generalist agency, I did have a client, and he was doing like computer support stuff. And I was like, okay, tell me your business. I'm an MSP. I was like, oh, I'm gonna write that down. I'll look that one up later. Found out what an MSP was without even knowing it. But the more I chatted with these people, the more I got to know them, I was like, oh, these are people who like worked at a computer repair shop in high school like I did. These are people who like made websites for their friends like I did. They're entrepreneurs like I am on a similar journey. And for me and my particular path, kind of not going through any type of mid-market jobs, never working for a corporate, only kind of working for scrappy small business. I don't even call it startups, small businesses. My whole career, these are the people that I really connected with. And it may take a few tries, and I love the idea of starting with the generalist agency. That's a path I took, but absolutely find the people where you don't have imposter syndrome and you're not an imposter, and they know you and you get them and you guys are like on the same page about everything. So that's why I really liked Lisa's comment, because it's like, yes, like for you, like I'm sure you have like some amazing background and all that stuff makes sense to you. For me, it's like, I don't know what's going on. And if you probably talk to a local IT support provider who's servicing their local area, managing networks, you'd be like, I don't really know like any, you don't know what's going on there. So you got to find your people.
Corey,
can I build on that?
Yep.
So I think, having done this for a bit, wrote a book about it, there's really 3 main steps to choosing a great vertical market. Number 1 is you have to look at go within your business and look at all the wisdom that exists, right? You want to look at your client lists, which clients generate the best revenue, the best retention, where are we getting referrals, right? You want to go deep into that. That's step number 1. I'll jump to step number 3. Step number 3 is you want to go and find out how big is the addressable market. MSPs, there's probably a lot of them. In fact, there are a lot of them. Large retail brands, much smaller market. So do you want to specialize in that? Is there a business case for that? The back of the napkin math I do is what is out of the total addressable market, total number of businesses in this vertical market that you could target. If we were able to close 3% market share, what type of revenue would that generate for our agency? And as a founder, if that makes you excited, that revenue at 3%, then it's an indication that it might be a good fit. Step number 2 is really important. This is what Nate is talking to. A lot of people skip this step because they make a decision based on a spreadsheet. They say, well, there's a lot of attorneys. It's a big market. They spend a lot. I'm going to go do that and sell my agency in 5 years. Of course, within 6 months to a year, they end up switching or they pivot because attorneys are hard. So the second step is you actually have to give a damn. You actually have to care about the people in this vertical market, because to be successful today, in addition to being highs and lows as you go, you're going to be spending a lot of time with these folks. You're going to be going to their conferences. You're going to be writing a lot of the content for them. You're going to be starting podcasts where you're interviewing a lot of them. You're really going to become kind of mentally a part of that industry. And if that is something that doesn't at least resonate with you at a deep level as a founder, then it's likely that within 6 months or a year, you may get bored or frustrated with the vertical.
Corey, you naturally transitioned to the question I was going to ask you, which was when Scorpion started, they were very focused on attorneys. Why was that their main decision for that vertical?
So good. So they actually weren't. The story is, this is long before I got there. A couple of best friends, they wanted to start designing websites. It used to be called Scorpion Design. And so what they do after high school one day, they picked up something that's called the Yellow Pages. Anyone know what a Yellow Pages is? Which is a big book. It's a listing of all the local businesses. And they started cold calling, and they started at the front of the book. And they started calling, or whatever the first business is for an A, whatever. Eventually they got to attorneys. And attorneys, because it's towards the front of the book, they started saying yes. And as a result of that, they kind of lucked into building websites for a bunch of attorneys. And it turns out that attorneys, like plumbers and some other service businesses, really depend on the internet to generate new cases. And even in the early days, that was very relevant. And that was kind of how they backed into it. Even when I arrived, though, it wasn't 100% attorneys. It was mostly attorneys. They also had a couple of hospital clients and a couple of a little bit of everything else as well. And we, of course, formalized that as we went.
Interesting. Fun fact for you guys that didn't know, Yellow Pages is now Thrive, and they make websites. and they also use Duda. So, Lisa, I have a question for you. As you start growing, right? You start to think about like what's next, and so you did a successful exit. I would love to know the details. How many people were on your team when it happened? What made you come to the decision? How did they approach you about this information, or were you pursuing that? A lot of people might be in the position where they're managing hundreds of sites, thousands of sites even, and they want to know how to take it to the next step. So in your experience, what was that like?
Okay, where do I start? So I always knew I wanted to build an agency to sell. And so that was kind of one of the things that was on my mind even when I founded the agency. That was one of them because, and it's not for the glory. It is more basic than that. And this is tied to why my company is called EKTE. And I'll circle through some of the things that you guys were talking about as well. As EKTE is Norwegian and means authentic and real. And I think selling anything to any client in any shape or any size is all about being real, because trust is what really sells. This is just a human thing where we buy into people that are just talking the truth to them, which is why actual selling is not very successful. But when you care about things and when you're involved in the clients and you understand the vertical, that really does shine through. And so I really cared about the SEO industry as well. And I was really passionate about that. But I came from a background where I'd never had any money whatsoever. And both my parents were bankrupt when I grew up. My mom was alcoholic, and I'd always wanted to be financially independent. So I had an aim of being able to be significantly financially independent. And I had these vision boards where I put pictures of what I imagine that looking like, and I believe very much in visualizing things that you want. So to answer the questions you asked, at the time of selling, we were 32 people, so not massive, but we were SEO specialized. We had won all the awards. We had already won like 30 awards, industry specific SEO awards, etc. And we didn't have many clients, like there weren't thousands, but we quite quickly specialized growing within the clients we had. So again, that was part of the strategy. So we got the bigger clients. Like my first client was a mattress client. It's not like we went out to get the corporate clients. And I think this is one of the things that I struggle with, is that I thought the corporate or the bigger clients would be very different and that they would want us to work in a different way. But it turns out that people are people. And if you focus on the people, it doesn't really matter. And so we had probably around 12 clients, but we specialized in international as well. So I know we talked a lot about North America in this session, but in Europe, everyone speaks different languages. So I had a team of the 32 people I had, we had 15 different languages. And we serviced, at that point, 10 different markets. And there's not many agencies that could do that. So there are also other ways that you can make yourself look very, very good in terms of a potential buy. I started thinking about going out to buy in about 2015, 2016. But Omnicom actually came to me. So that was very serendipitous. And from that, it started conversations. We also had other conversations with others, not networks, but independents. And so that whole process is a whole nother session. But from I decided to start thinking about the sales process in 2015 to 2017. It did just take 2 years, but I had it in my mind for a very long time. And again, the main thing I would say is that one, we specialize in SEO and the link development, and we did this loads of different languages. There was not many like us. So that's why we attracted a big buyer like Omnicom.
And that is the hardest part of SEO by far, is the link building. Most people avoid it. I avoid it like the plague. And so that's very interesting that you decided to focus on what was difficult and they saw value in that.
Yes, and also to me, it totally makes sense. If you could do the thing that everyone thinks is difficult, and we had also some gambling clients, which is really difficult in the SEO world. We used to call it the 3 Ps: poker, pills, and porn. It's the most difficult to. I don't say hard anymore. That's weird. And therefore, if you can be successful doing link development, or what we then later called outreach, then you are outrunning the competitors.
Great. Thank you so much for the background, Lisa. That's personally helpful information. Nate, quick question for you. Brandon, who said verticalized agencies are the effing move, he also said, is it true that verticalized specific marketing agencies get sold for higher multiples? When you answer this, explain what a multiple is for those of us that don't know. And then also tell us if that's true or not.
Yeah, so typically when you do an exit, when you sell your agency, buy an agency, you're going to buy it at a multiple of the EBITDA, which is basically the profit that the company makes. And the higher your EBITDA, the higher multiple. So like, for example, if you're at if for a digital agency, if you have $100,000 in profit, that would be relatively low for an exit. You may sell at 1x EBITDA, and you could sell the company for $100,000. If you're at $1 million in EBITDA, you're making $1 million in profit every year, maybe you could get a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 multiple, and you would sell it for 5 million, 10 million. I think what the vertical specialization does, I think it is, I don't know the exact answer there, but it does open up more strategic buyers and different strategic buyers. So for example, where Lisa sold to a larger marketing agency that wanted to add this piece in, that's maybe a strategic buyer, not a private equity group. For my case, or for a lot of verticalized agencies, if you're a marketing agency, maybe there's a CRM in your space or a line of business software in your space that only works with the same clientele as you. And they say, hey, if we buy this agency, we can do 2 things. Number one, we're going to be able to sell to all of their clients the CRM or the software that we have. And the other thing that we're going to be able to do is for all of our clients, we're going to be able to start offering marketing services. So I don't know if it's higher or not, but I know it does open a different strategic buyer who can acquire you.
Makes total sense. Yeah, very similar cases. Job Nimbus buying an agency, and they are a CRM, so that is a very interesting point. Corey, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I would build off what Nate is saying. I think as an acquirer, if we put on sort of their shoes, we're looking to buy an asset that is cash flowing, is generating a great return, that has low risk. And typically what you see in vertically specialized agencies is a higher client retention rate, better margins, less dependency on expensive outbound, right? And so as a result of that, the asset is de-risked relative to maybe more of a generalist agency that is dependent on the founder to do the rainmaking, where it's less of a process-driven agency.
All right, thank you guys. We've got about a minute left, so I'm going to do rapid fire Q&A. So when I put up a comment on the actual board, just give me a really quick response. So Ron Rose, this one's for Nate, asks, he's a new MSP specializing in dentistry, attending a dental management program. Any tips on landing their first clients from the 250 owners there?
Use a tool called the Cyber Score. Check out a company called Iceberg Cyber. It is definitely the #1 in-person lead gen tool for MSPs.
That was a great answer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, great answer. Haas asked, Corey, with so many MSPs out there and the differentiation variables you mentioned, does the lead gen method change?
For acquiring MSP clients, I'm assuming that's the question.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? As clients, I guess I would ask that to be Nate. I mean, that's his job, right?
I think
I'm trying to
differentiation
spread the wealth, Corey. I'm trying to spread the wealth here. So
He's the guy. Go ahead.
It's
Nate.
one of many business strategies. I think MSPs focus too deeply into differentiation being the only business strategy. I think there's also, you can do price, you can be the best, and I don't know all the business strategies out there, but I would not solely look at that for business strategy.
All right, guys. Corey, Lisa, and Nate, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you guys. A lot of knowledge here. And everyone stick around. We're talking productivity systems that actually work coming up.